Hello and welcome to the Tech Remedy podcast. I'm Jamie and I'm passionate about seeing businesses win using technology. In each episode, we'll talk to industry experts or business owners just like you. We'll uncover how technology has been used in the real world. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on LinkedIn for more insight and content to come. Tom, welcome to the Tech Remedy podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jamie.
Tom is the founder and managing director of the customer experience specialist, AAWE. He grows businesses and builds brands through better customer experience. Tom has had a career that's spanned across leading creative and digital agencies, notably as experience partner at Wunderman Thompson.
Yeah, just about said that. They don't even exist anymore, so don't worry about it.
Right, okay. You've designed experiences for some of the UK's largest telecoms providers and helped digital-only utility brand go from launch to over 1 million customers. You've also had experience with Jabra as the global head of experience, and you were instrumental in using technology to consider the new possibilities in a post-COVID working world. And in 2023, you've formed your own CX consultancy, which is AAWE, as you are now. And you're helping clients, I guess, grow through embracing better customer experience and strategy around that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that.
So, customer experience.
Yeah.
What exactly is it? Can you tell us?
Big question. And I think this is a really important one, actually, because it's ultimately what I do. And I think a lot of people use it in lots of different ways. I think a lot of people immediately assume it's customer reviews. They immediately assume it's digital experiences. What we try and say at AAWE to keep life as simple as possible is just purely whenever your brand meets your customer, wherever your business meets your customer. And there's a number of different ways in which people do that now within the kind of working world that we are in. It can be website, it can be call center, it can be your retail experience, it could be your staff experience. And I think any one of those touch points ultimately make up the entirety of what your customers are experiencing. So that's what we like to say is your customer experience.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we're guilty of maybe just feeling about one part, but it now spans offline, online. There's so many different areas, isn't there, around where you kind of meet customers. So I guess it's getting ever more important with the move to a more digital world. Like, is it more important than ever, would you say? Or how would you rank it in terms of what businesses should be focusing on and how much energy they should put into customer experience?
Yeah. Look, I'm biased, but I think it's actually been really well proven in terms of a lot of research out there that says that customer experience is the most important factor when a customer aims to make a purchase decision. I mean, I could point you here, there, and everywhere, but it's around 70% of people say it's the most important aspect of when making a customer experience decision or a purchase decision, rather. I mean, I think you can see that as you go through your daily life. Like, you walk down the high street, you're interested in getting a cup of coffee, you see a Starbucks or a Costa or an independent. Pretty much their product's very, very similar. So you're going to go to the one that you feel like gives you the best customer experience. And I think that plays out in the digital world as well as the physical world. So I think more and more what we're seeing is that people are embracing customer experience and really thinking about it as not just a tick box exercise or not just the bells and whistles to keep customers happy, and actually thinking about it as an engine of growth for your business are succeeding more and more. And again, there's a lot of research out there that says the people who are the leaders within a given category actually grow 5 times at the rate of the people who are the laggards or the businesses delivering poorer customer experiences.
That's really interesting. Is that? So I guess, how do you judge how do you judge if you're doing well, delivering a good customer experience? Because I imagine it's quite emotive, is it? Like, how people feel about your brand and about your service?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's 2 ways. There's a qualitative aspect and a quantitative aspect, and I think both are really, really important. I think, like you just said, that kind of feeling that you have when you are interacting with a business, when you're purchasing from them, I think that's really, really important. And there's no way to understand that better than actually talk to your customers, interact with them, empathize with them. That's hugely, hugely important. Like, I think people enjoy shopping at, I don't know, Tesco, say, more so than Asda. I don't know if that's true, but you know what I mean? Like, actually, people have that feeling of they like to be in certain places. Like, thinking of groceries, like M&S, the shop, just smells better. Like, just simple things like that can make a difference, and think, oh, I'm going to go there for whatever reason rather than any others. But then on the quantitative aspect, I think it's really important to embrace the numbers. Like, actually, if you're seeing a massive dropout in your website at checkout, well, there's a problem there and you need to do something about it. And that quantitative aspect ultimately is what's going to lead to growth, and you can start defining the impact that your customer experience has had and the impact that it has on your bottom line, because I think the two go hand in hand, like the feelings that you're trying to create as well as ultimately the way in which you're trying to grow your business. When you get those two right, that's the recipe for success for customer experience.
That makes sense. So if I'm a business owner and I've not paid much attention to customer experience, and we may be successful, but I don't quite know how we've delivered it and where we can improve. Obviously, I know my numbers of who's coming in the door every month or who's buying. How do I know what my potential might look like, or where would I start to understand that? Or is that where you come in and where you would help people?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when I talk to clients, we talk about inside out versus outside in, and it's a bit of a wanky consultancy term in lots of ways, but it's actually start thinking about looking at your business from someone's perspective who's not inside the business day to day and knows the numbers, knows the ins and outs of exactly the product line and the way to kind of go through a customer journey, and actually start experiencing it as a customer would. Get customers to come in, get experienced specialists from an outside perspective to come in, analyze that experience, and you can really start quickly seeing the differences you can make. It doesn't have to be an all-encompassing analysis, review, whatever you want to call it. It can be a really simple process of actually just identifying what those things can start to look like, because like, even if you're on top of the numbers, you might be doing everything in your power in terms of marketing, advertising, continuous optimization, and you're not seeing those numbers move. So there's ultimately a why for that. And I think that's where customers and a customer experience specialist can really start to tell you what the difference can be.
Okay, so you'd work hand in hand with those people you mentioned. If we're talking about digital mediums, the SEO, the website, the checkout process, you'd work hand in hand with those people to help deliver the customer experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the people we talk to, they've invested a lot in Google advertising, SEO, PPC, etc. They're seeing this increase in traffic, say, to a digital real estate, and then those leads aren't affecting the bottom line of actually people who purchase from them through their e-commerce platform. So actually thinking about it as a journey, because I think that's another important aspect. Stop thinking about it in terms of channels, stop thinking about it in specialisms, start thinking about it as you want to get from customer from point A to point B, was everything they go on across that journey, and optimizing each step to make sure that, yes, I'm increasing leads with my SEO partners, but I'm also working with customer experience specialists and digital specialists to improve the conversion on my website. Well, that's the way in which you're really going to start seeing a difference in terms of customer experience.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So you mentioned customer journey then.
Yeah.
Can we just step back into your journey a little bit about, we've been through your bio a little bit, and you've worked in agencies and for international companies. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe then how you got to this point of AAWE being formed, and kind of what makes you guys special about what you do and how you deliver it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, how far do you want to go back, really? I guess we can talk about, like, really what got me interested in customer experience first and foremost was working for a charity. Just because I was the youngest person in the office, they asked me to redesign the website, and kind of going through that experience helped me think about, actually, this is something that I'm really interested in, something I could really look at going forward. And went off and did a master's degree at a school called Hyper Island. It was actually in Manchester, but they're a Swedish school. They had a satellite campus in Manchester. They kind of look at things a little bit differently. They're kind of branded as the digital Harvard, as far as Forbes described them as that. And yeah, that kind of then led me into the agency world in London immediately from there. Like, Hyper Island alumni really had strong connections with a lot of agencies down in London. So kind of worked my way through different agencies, went through small agencies, to bigger WPP agencies like at Wunderman Thompson's, now VML. At the time I left, we had like a 20-person customer experiencing team that I was leading.
Right,
We were the biggest agency in the world. The London office was massive. We were working with a lot of different clients, a lot of blue chip clients, kind of giving me that idea of like, how are some of these bigger businesses operating? And I just wanted to experience it from the other side. Like, I'm talking to clients day in, day out. Actually, what's it like to be a client? So that left me to move to Jabra. You're in the world of IT, you probably know Jabra better than me even.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like the go-to in terms of like professional headsets, audio, visual equipment, etc. And did that for a year, and then kind of felt like, even though I had a team, because we were really dispersed, all credit to Jabra, they really walked the walk in terms of allowing people to work remotely, because that's what their tools ultimately did. So I had this team dispersed across the globe, like Bulgaria, Singapore, etc. And even though I was working with a team, because of that case, and I was kind of doing it remotely, I was working by myself. So I thought, no, why do it for myself? And I wanted that variety of working with a range of different clients. And I really felt like customer experience was a tool that not only big businesses could use, I think businesses of any size can start using that. So I just really wanted to take that opportunity and go from there. And that led me to form AAWE, and I started practicing what I preached and putting myself out there in terms of actually talking to people exactly what customer experience is and the impact it can make. And I think from my perspective, what makes AAWE different is pure and simple two things. We often say we bring the customer to the boardroom. Like, you're going to hear absolutely the truth in terms of what we feel like you need to hear and how your customers are talking about your brand. And then secondly, the amount of rigor that we go into the experience. Like, we don't just simply go through a journey. I think we stress test every potential way in which you can interact with you and your brand across that journey. And that really enables us to get a really clear roadmap and a really clear set of recommendations of ultimately what helps you achieve growth as a business.
So in terms of, that's quite a journey. In terms of, I guess, digging back into a few of the points you mentioned, Jabra and being fully remote, is it harder to deliver, I guess, good customer service when you might be spread across the globe internally? Or should it not matter because you kind of internal touch points and your external touch points? So it should be two different realms?
Yes, I think it's a really good point, because I don't think it should matter where you are in terms of if you're remote or if you're all in a physical location. And I think the way to do that is really like think about it in terms of a customer experience mindset and looking at a journey end to end and start focusing on that journey and bringing together skill sets that will complement one another and thinking about that end-to-end customer experience. Because I think we all too readily organize ourselves, especially bigger organizations, in terms of all our marketing people need to sit together, work together. All our digital people need to sit together, work together. All our customer support team need to sit together, work together. Whereas actually customers interact with all three of those teams and all very, very quickly after one another, all on the same day, whatever you want to describe it as. And actually, it doesn't really matter where you are. You just need to think about it as a customer would and think about in terms of the kind of disciplines that you interact with across that journey.
So I guess if you're all in alignment, it shouldn't matter whether you're in-house, spread across the globe.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Can I ask about COVID then? So was that during your Jabra time? Was that
it was a mix, actually. I was working at Wunderman Thompson during the height of COVID. And then as we were coming out, a lot of tech industries really got a big boom through COVID. Like you saw your Googles, your Microsofts, etc. And Jabra were really riding that wave. And then that's when I came on board and kind of got them through the back end of COVID and then working into the new working world, the new normal, however you describe it, post-COVID.
So do you think, as consumers, we've changed our expectations of what customer service is or what it should deliver because of what happened in COVID and maybe being more remote or not being able to go and do things? Or do you think we're pretty much still where we were before, but we just changed slightly the mediums?
Yeah, I think customer expectations is a really important topic in and of itself, because expectations change massively and they continue to evolve. And that's something that we really need to keep on top of. And I think post-COVID, I think our expectations have changed. I think a lot of the time we're now expecting the world to come to us, brands to come to us and make it easier for us to purchase from you in that sense. So like keeping on top of that, I think is really, really important for any brand going forward.
I know we constantly have the discussion here at everyone, like we changed one of our main ticketing tools back in December. And one of the reasons is it was pretty much frozen in time, and you could email tickets, you could call, but there wasn't WhatsApp, there wasn't Slack, there wasn't all these different mediums. And we've changed our tool to try and sort of unlock some of that extra functionality, because I think we sort of see our clients as changing and evolving or becoming like younger, obviously, as people leave and people come out of university. So we're trying to adapt as well. I don't know if we're doing a great job of some of the newer mediums compared to the old ones, but we're trying to offer more.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting topic actually, because I think a lot of brands have a risk of, we need to be everywhere, we need to be omni-channel, and that means any kind of tool, any kind of platform that springs up, we need to be on that. And especially within a customer experience platform or perspective, maybe less so within a marketing view, actually being really clear on where you want customers to go can go a long way. And actually making sure that you deliver a consistent experience on that platform. Like if you deliver a really crap experience on Facebook and you want them over onto your website, well, why are you spending the resource, the time, the effort on Facebook, and you're just delivering a crap experience? Why not better direct them to where you need them to be and make sure that's a satisfying enough experience to make sure that they will always go back there? And I think that's a really interesting distinction to make in terms of stop being omni-channel, stop trying to chase customers, just deliver a great experience where you know you can consistently deliver it.
So if you were in the boat now, or you were listening to this and you think actually that might be us, that we're guilty of being across too many different platforms and not really focusing on any strength, would you advise people to step back and maybe evaluate each one individually? Or how would you work out if you delivered a great experience here, but maybe not there?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the journey and like the tasks that customers are trying to complete. Like what are the 10, 12, 15, 20 journeys that customers go on with you? What are the channels that they're using to interact with you across those journeys? And are their jobs getting done on each one of these platforms? And if what you're finding is actually we're seeing a lot of customers go on this platform, we're not able to answer that task, answer that query, that's all they're using it for, well, shut it down. And like simplify life for yourself and make sure that across that journey, you're better signposting to where you need them to be.
I think we definitely see it a lot. And I think tech companies are definitely guilty of shiny.
Yeah.
This new technology, this new tool, like we're seeing AI, which we haven't really touched on yet, but you see these things come and people are like, oh, I need to have it. But I guess what you're saying is it comes sometimes at the expense of doing what has been tried and tested for you years after year.
Let the customers direct you, not the technology. And I mean, that's not hugely innovative of me to say. I think a lot of people would think that, but I think we're too guilty of thinking, oh, let's look at the possibilities of this and give it to customers. And before we realize, actually, customers never even really needed that. And actually just go back to what they're trying to do for you or what they're trying to do with you, and like think about it from that perspective. Do you think the customer experience you've evolved at Everon has changed in any way, shape or form?
I'd say, yeah. Not necessarily. I don't think as we've grown and we've all been techies, but I think as we've matured as a business and as I've started to do kind of more of this business development sort of role that I have now rather than the day-to-day techie stuff, I think I've become more educated on like what delivers customer satisfaction, what engages people's feelings and emotions, and we try and incorporate stuff like that now. So like one thing we do now, which we didn't do before, is the guys have the ability to send a gift to clients. So it's within a set framework, but essentially if we feel like customer might be frustrated by a system they're using, or there's something we've not quite hit the mark with, everybody who's got boots on the ground here has got the ability just to send them a bar of chocolate or something in the post. And I don't know, you might think this is terrible, like,
that's great
as a whole thing, but these kind of little bits that are non-technical, I think, deliver a better experience for us than some of the stuff we do. Like you can fix someone's problem on a computer, or you can deliver a new app or an automation, but not that clients think it's expected, but I just think it's not outside of the box enough to make a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
one of the other things we did recently was we bought a cool box, filled it full of ice creams. People might have seen this on LinkedIn, and we drove around as many offices as we could get around in an afternoon, and just no appointment, just knocked on clients' doors and handed out ice cream. And again, it was trying to do something a bit shocking, a bit different that we feel would, as guests, give the emotion of a good experience.
And I think a lot of people talk about surprise and delight. I don't really like that phrase. I like just exceeding expectations. I think what you've talked about there in terms of what your clients come to you for, even though it's can be super complicated and super difficult for them to even grasp the value that you give to them. Like that's almost an expectation that they're going to get that from you. Whereas you turning up to their office with an ice cream, that's exceeded their expectations. And so that's a real like focus point for customer experience, I think.
I guess what I'd struggle with is how do you quantify that? How do you, because it's not something, the minute we say, right, every month or every 3 months we're going to go and do this, does it lose that appeal of being sporadic or being something we've just gone and done? So how do you, I guess, strategize that? How do you implement it in a way that feels like it's not structured but gives that impression?
So I think it kind of comes back to that journey. And I used to work with a chap, and he always talked about signature moments for you and your business, your brand. And I think that's really, really important, because these kind of elements of signature moments can be something that you can uniquely deliver and other IT providers can't, for example. And you think about this customer journey that if someone's had with you, say they're coming up to the end of their contract, with looking at the retention journey. Okay, in the 3 months leading up to the date where they re-sign with you, what's a signature moment that we can provide them, and actually look at it from that perspective. Okay, on day 90, when we know this is the kind of headspace that they're in as a customer, we're going to do X. And that's something that can really have a real big impact. And you can do it to every client and like have that kind of steps of service, that kind of process embedded in the way that you help customers recontract. And I think that's a really important tool for people to utilize.
Signature moments. I'm going to write that down. Use that definitely.
You can have that one. Well, I stole it anyway, so you can have it.
I'll repurpose it then. I guess then, just to bring back to technology a little bit, AI is obviously here. It's becoming more dominant. We talked a little bit before we started filming this about some AIs in Canva and other tools. How is that going to impact customer experience? Positive, negative? Should we be looking at it, I guess?
I mean, everybody's talking about it, and I think it'd be stupid not to look at it. I think whenever I feel like a technology like AI comes around, I'm often reminded by the Bill Gates quote, where he says, we often overestimate where we'll be in 2 years and underestimate where we'll be in 10. So I think a lot of the chatter that we're hearing about AI, everybody's like, in 6 months, you're not going to have a job. I think that's not going to happen. So we're kind of overestimating where we're going to be in 2 years' time. But I think from a customer experience perspective, I think it really will inform both ends of the spectrum. From the insight point of view, I think I'm already using it with clients to trawl Trustpilot reviews, customer reviews, pull out key themes in like literally a click of a button. And we can really easily take a huge database, or a huge data set rather, of customer testimonials, even like we can have one-to-one interviews with customers as part of a project. Let's take the transcripts of these 10 hours we've just done and get some core themes. It'll just really automate that insight process. And then the automation piece as well can really start thinking about how you actually interact with customers. So like I had to have a complaint with an airline provider recently. I had to get a refund on some tickets, and I emailed them with the card that they gave me. And they said, okay, we will respond to you in 28 days. And some customer service agent had to type an email to me to say, this is what we're going to do. This is how you get your money back, etc. Like, what happens if that went to an automated inbox and AI read it and said, yeah, we completely get where this is coming from. This is the process that we now follow. Here's the automated email back. Here's the money back to Tom. And that could just be done rather than 28 days. It can be done in a matter of minutes. And with no overhead in terms of a customer service agent. So I think that kind of automation of processes, I think, is really, really going to be a big impact in AI and customer experience.
I think we sort of say the same when we speak to clients, that we're not looking at replacing people, but we're enhancing what they can do, or we can take mundane, tedious elements away from people, stuff that maybe doesn't motivate them or engage them, and we can give that to an AI or an automation. We can deliver better experience, but we can engage staff more and we can help drive business forwards kind of that way. So I think that makes sense.
How do you think businesses like right now could be using AI if they're not even really using it as a tool for them and their business?
So I don't think this is an answer direct to that question, but this is what I get asked a lot, and this is the kind of answer I give most is going back to that shiny. People ask me all the time, how can we use AI? How can we do this? But then when you actually kind of look at the infrastructure and what they're doing, they're kind of not doing the basics or maximizing what they've got already. And I think it's better to look at that as a foundation before you look at applying AI. One of the issues is the more siloed data you have that live in all these different systems, the less impactful AI is because it can't span these different systems. So I'd always recommend people removing these data silos as much as possible first. And then the second thing I'd say is we work with a lot of regulated industries. And I think you have to be really careful where you put AI and what data you use within it. It has to be done in a way that doesn't kind of invalidate any governing body guidelines or rule sets. So I would understand your company policy first on AI, and then I'd be looking at things like OpenAI or Copilot, but within your managed environment that you can control, and you're not putting data into AIs that live out in the cloud or the public domain where once the data is there, you can't control how it's used or
that makes sense.
But it's interesting. We get a lot of, can we do this? But there's 30% of productivity they've missed in an Outlook or in an Office tool they've not even touched yet. And it's been great for us as the whole AI sort of uprising because it's changed people's mindsets. They now want to look at things like that. But the flip side is they want to run before they can walk sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you're my AI guru, so I always come to you for anything AI. But I mean, like, I think that's a good point in terms of like, just get the basics right. Like, just make sure you're being as productive as possible with the tools that you've got before you start rolling out additional tools and new processes, etc.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Can you, as we're starting to sort of wrap up, can you share with me your kind of basic tips? So if a business owner has listened to this right now, they don't employ a customer experience team, either internally or externally, but they're interested in finding out how they can start improving customer experience or where they should be starting. What's their go-to? Where should they start?
Yeah, and I don't want to make customer experience sound like it's something for people who are on the FTSE 100, like with multiple teams that you need to coordinate. Like, customer experience is really important for those. But I mean, a sole business owner, customer experience is equally as important. And I think it is this organic tool that's sustainable, that's always going to help you deliver a foundation for growth. So I think the place I always start with people when I talk to them is say, experience your brand as a customer would first and foremost.
Okay.
Like, actually log out of the account that you're on your website, come at it from a fresh pair of eyes as a customer would who's just clicked your Google ad and try and buy what you're selling them.
Yeah.
And like go through that journey, document it, think of every which way the customer might go, document it, analyze it, and like come at it from that perspective. Because I think all too often we fall into the trap of, we know how this should work because we built it, and therefore we just kind of go down the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And you will be amazed at the ways in which customers deviate from that path. And I think it's really important to understand the ways they can deviate. And then I think the other thing is, ultimately, everyone's out there trying to keep up with the Joneses and following best practice. But if you think about you and your competitor set, your best practice as an IT support provider is the same best practice that everybody's following, every other IT support provider is following. Everybody's Googling how to deliver great IT support. And like, these are the top 5 things I need to do, and I'm just going to do them. Yeah. And actually start thinking about what is necessarily best practice, deliver that as a baseline, and then think about what you can do as you and your brand to start thinking about exceeding expectations. So it goes back to those signature moments and start embedding that into the way you serve your customers. And it can be something like you've talked about in terms of a step that you take and enable your staff to take, or it could just be something that you automate in a process that's digital that just really exceeds that expectation and is consistently delivered because it's embedded in the way that you deliver customer experience.
Yeah, I love that term, signature moments. So I guess you could also then look at what other industries do where you spot their signature moments.
Yeah.
If you start to look out
Yeah.
and then keep a list of things that might then work for you as well.
Yeah, we often
good
talk
way of
about
doing
comparators and competitors. Like I think often too many people, like an example, we're talking about a comparison site that I previously worked with. They're always thinking about what the other comparison websites are doing. But actually, let's step ourselves out of this process. All we're doing is delivering a price to a customer versus through a digital tool. Well, let's look at what Skyscanner are doing.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at what other people are doing to deliver a similar kind of experience. Like, I was working with a client the other day. He runs a car dealership, but he is a slightly different model. It's slightly disruptive in what he's doing. Really, really excited about it. And actually, him enabling people to buy a car through a website, like actually let's look at fast fashion, let's look at ASOS, look at Boohoo, look at Pretty Little Things.
Yeah.
Like they've got it down. Like people are buying stuff hand over fist digitally and not thinking twice about it. Like obviously a car's a much bigger purchase, but there's tactics in which they're using throughout their checkout flow, etc., that you can really learn from and enable you to like really easily innovate. I mean, yeah, that's a really simple way and tactic to innovate and just take from a category that is not known to be a direct competitor to yours and use those tactics elsewhere. And that could be something that could be really, really powerful.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip. Is that I'm gonna be getting some homework now to go and look at other industries.
Yeah.
Okay, quick closing tradition for me. So I want to start a tradition where for every guest I ask about one piece of tech or software or application. It could be in your personal life or your work life, but something that you wouldn't want to live without nowadays.
Yeah. So it might be a really boring answer, but I was literally thinking about this yesterday, and it's Apple Pay. Like, I don't know how I lived a life of Apple Pay, and it's like literally changed the way I behave in terms of I don't take my wallet anywhere anymore.
Yeah,
it's just my phone, and I think it really speaks to what Apple do really well is in that they turn the mundane into something quite magical.
Yeah.
And actually that's something to really start thinking about, is like what are those mundane moments in your experience and how you can make them magical. And I don't know why more people aren't integrating Apple Pay onto their website. I go to North Star Roasters for my coffee beans, and there's another coffee bean that I like just as much, but on their website I've got to put in my card details, I've got to pay for delivery even though it's next day delivery. Whereas a North Star, I go to the beans that I want, it says buy with Apple Pay, one click, preloads my address, etc., double click, and it's coming to me like in 3 days, and it's free delivery. And so I'm happy to wait that extra time. And that just goes to the importance of customer experience. The product's the same, but they've integrated a tool and a technology that I really, really like. And they've done it really seamlessly, because I think technology has that ability to deliver seamless customer experiences. And it's given me the reason to go back, and I'm always going to go back. So yeah, Apple Pay is something that I'm a big advocate for.
I think it's a good one, and especially because sometimes the things you don't think about that often are seamless, so they don't necessarily stand out, but you use it so much, it has so many uses. I resisted it for ages, but I've fallen in line now, and I use it as well. And it's interesting the point about the websites with Apple Pay. I'm trying to think now off the top of my head if I've seen many that have it, and I think there isn't. I know there's Shop Pay or something like that remembers it and uses your mobile phone number to remember your details.
I'm assuming Apple take a massive cut, and that's why people aren't integrating it more. And obviously, like there's Shopify and other tools out there that are doing really good stuff and interesting stuff in that space. But yeah, I think in terms of that, like just bypassing the whole basket, bypassing the whole checkout flow, one click, double tap, and it's coming to my door in 3 to 5 days, free of charge. Like that's something that I'm always gonna go for.
It was a good answer as well, been related to customer experience. So, okay, so if people listen to this, want to get in touch with you, they want to look at customer experience, can you share how's best to contact you and maybe how you can help?
AAWE.uk, that's the website. find me on LinkedIn, Tom Bell. I should be fairly easy to find. Tom Bell at AAWE.uk if you want to just drop me an email. Always happy to have a coffee, a chat, have conversations like this. I am a bit of a customer experience geek, so happy to help anyone, even if it is just informally for a half-hour chat. So yeah, hopefully people get in touch, and thanks very much for having me, Jamie. It's been a really great to chat and indulge my customer experience geek side, like I say.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for being a guest. And yeah, signature moments is my takeaway. So I'm going to be making a list of those when I get back
hopefully
upstairs.
This podcast was a signature moment.
Do you know what? I didn't think about that, but yeah, it must be. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, Jamie.
That's all for this episode of the Tech Remedy podcast. I hope you found it insightful and have some useful takeaways for your business. Please don't forget to share the podcast with anybody else that may help, and subscribe for future episodes to come.